Right now, you possess a skill that feels, um, honestly, so incredibly basic to you that you probably assume it's entirely worthless.
Yeah, totally.
But according to the source material we are jumping into for today's deep dive, that exact boring, everyday skill is, well, it's exactly what someone else is desperately waiting to pay you for.
Right. Today we are looking at chapter 2 of a text called Hustle Smarter, Not Harder. And the fundamental premise here, it really challenges this very common cognitive bias we all have.
Oh, the curse of knowledge.
Exactly. We constantly assume that if something comes easily to us, it must be easy for everyone else on the planet. But the reality is actually quite the opposite. What feels like mundane, everyday knowledge to you is premium, highly monetizable knowledge to a very specific buyer.
So our mission today is to take that premise and use it to dismantle this, this overwhelming, often paralyzing idea of starting a side hustle or a standalone business. We're going to map out a personalized launch pad using the framework provided in this text.
Because the barrier to entry, I mean, it isn't a lack of skills or resources. It's really just that we are blind to the value we already hold.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we can package what you know, we need to understand the anatomy of a genuine advantage. And it's not just about what degrees you have, right?
No, not at all. When people hear a term like unfair advantage, the immediate assumption is that we are talking about trust funds or Ivy League degrees or massive seed capital.
Right, the stuff most of us don't have.
Exactly. But the source material provides a much more accessible blueprint. It breaks down personal advantage into 4 overlapping elements. It calls this the KNCS framework. And your most monetizable advantage, it sits right at the intersection of all 4 of these.
So the first element is K, which stands for knowledge and skills. And we really have to be clear here that this goes way, way beyond formal education or university degrees.
Far beyond it. I mean, it encompasses formal education, sure, but it places a massive premium on industry experience, self-taught skills, incredibly niche hobbies, and hard-won life lessons. The text makes this really crucial point about compounding knowledge. Even if you have spent the last 5 years in a job you absolutely despise and you are desperately trying to leave it, the operational knowledge you gain there is compounding.
Like understanding the messy internal system.
Yes. You understand the inefficiencies, the specific software. That knowledge is highly valuable when you extract it and apply it in a totally new context.
But that knowledge doesn't just happen in a vacuum. I mean, while you were acquiring that K, you were also interacting with people, which creates the second pillar, the N, which is your network and access.
Yeah, and the text describes your network as a shortcut machine. Having access to the right person at the exact right moment, well, it can compress years of solo, frustrating effort into a single email or a quick phone call.
We really tend to dramatically undervalue the connections we build casually, don't we? Like in our careers, our communities, our industries.
We absolutely do. We think of networking as this formal, awkward event with name tags and cheap coffee.
Right, handing out business cards.
Exactly. But your warm network, the people who already know your face, who know your work ethic and trust you, that functions as your very first distribution channel. You don't have to convince them you're a real, reliable person. You just have to present them with a solution.
That trust factor actually ties directly into the C, which stands for context and circumstance. And this one is highly personal. It's your specific background, your geography, your culture, the unique struggles you've actually navigated.
Yeah, and the text uses a really grounding example here. It highlights the authentic credibility of being from Lagos, working in a specific sector there, and having navigated a highly localized, nuanced challenge in that specific market.
That makes total sense because that lived experience creates a level of empathy and a unique perspective that an outsider simply cannot replicate.
Right. A corporate consultant flying in from London might have the textbook theory, but they do not have the context. You cannot manufacture that kind of credibility with, like, a weekend certification course or some shiny new credential. You either live the reality of that market or you didn't.
Which brings us to the final element, the S, which is style and character. So this is how you communicate, your reliability, your follow-through rate.
And the text elevates these from standard resume buzzwords to massive market differentiators. It bluntly states that consistent follow-through is actually rarer than exceptional talent, and leaves us with this phrase, trustworthiness is a moat.
Okay, I have to push back a little on style acting as a competitive moat. I mean, being polite, being reliable, communicating well, those are great traits. But in the real world, politeness doesn't pay the rent.
That's a fair point.
It doesn't convince a client to hire you over a technical genius who might be a bit flaky but can totally code circles around you. How does style actually monetize as a concrete advantage?
Well, it monetizes because of the specific reality of the gig economy and freelance markets right now.
Hmm.
Clients are constantly burned by freelancers who overpromise, miss deadlines, or just completely ghost them halfway through a project.
Oh, I've been there. The ghosting is the worst.
Yes, exactly. The psychological toll of managing a flaky genius is incredibly high for a business owner. So when the text says trustworthiness is a moat, it means that simply communicating proactively, setting realistic expectations, and delivering exactly what you promised on the day you promised it, well, that effectively eliminates 90% of your competition.
Wow, 90%.
Yeah, a client will happily pay a premium for the peace of mind that a reliable, consistent communicator provides rather than deal with the anxiety of managing a chaotic genius.
Okay, that makes sense. The reliability becomes a risk mitigation tool for the buyer. But looking at all four of these, knowledge, network, context, style, it kind of reminds me of having snow tires in a blizzard.
Okay, how's that?
Like if you live in a place like Alaska, having snow tires and knowing how to drive on ice is just a boring, basic fact of life. You don't even think twice about it. But if you take those same tires and that same driving skill to a city that is suddenly paralyzed by an inch of unexpected snow.
You're the only person who can move.
Exactly. Your mundane, everyday reality is their absolute miracle. We are just so completely submerged in our own daily tasks that we assume everyone else knows how to do them too. We're blind to our own snow tires. But how does this abstract framework actually look in the real world?
Well, we can see this exact dynamic play out in the story of Amara, which the text uses as a case study. So Amara spent 5 years working in customer service at a mid-sized tech company. When she evaluated her own career, she was convinced she possessed zero marketable skills.
Let me guess, her internal narrative was, I just sit here and answer angry emails all day.
That's exactly it. She thought her skills were basic because everyone she worked with did the exact same thing. But apply the KNCS framework to her reality. Our knowledge was incredibly deep. She knew precisely how frustrated customers think, the specific language that triggers them, and the specific language that de-escalates a situation.
Right, that's huge.
And her network included regular interactions with several SaaS founders who were VIP clients of her company. Her context gave her firsthand daily experience of what actually causes churn, meaning cancellations, from the user side of the screen. And her style was patient, methodical, and really clear in written communication.
So when you lay it out like that, I mean, she isn't a customer service rep. She is a retention specialist.
And that is exactly how she packaged it. She didn't go out and offer to answer emails for an hourly fee. She went to her network of founders and offered a consulting gig focused on rewriting their onboarding sequences to actively reduce cancellations.
That's a huge pivot.
It is. And the reason she was able to charge $6,500 a month after just 90 days wasn't because she was writing nice emails. It was because she tied her specific skills directly to a critical financial metric for those businesses, which is customer retention. She solved a massive financial pain point using the exact same skills she previously thought were worthless.
Wow. Okay. Seeing Amara extract that value and connect it to a financial outcome is powerful. But how do we replicate that? I mean, if you are listening to this right now, how do you extract that exact same value out of your brain without getting completely overwhelmed?
This raises an important question, and the source material actually offers a diagnostic tool for this. It's a series of 5 discovery questions. Now, the rule for these is that you must answer them rapidly, honestly, and without editing or judging your own answers.
Okay, let's group these questions by what they are trying to uncover. The first area focuses on your environment. So what do people in your current industry or even your social circle complain about the most?
Right. This is a search for friction. Human beings complain when systems are broken, when things take too long, or when processes are just overly complicated. Where there is friction, there is a market. If you can hear the complaints around you, you are essentially hearing a list of things people would gladly pay to have smoothed out.
That's a great way to look at it. The next area looks at your own timeline. What is a hard-won lesson you figured out that took you years to learn, but that you could now teach someone else in a matter of days?
This targets the concept of buying back time. Yeah. People aren't necessarily paying you for raw information, right? I mean, they can Google raw information. They're paying for the synthesis of that information.
To skip the hard part.
Exactly. If your trial and error can save a client 2 years of frustration, your service is highly valuable. You are basically selling a time machine, not just a tutorial.
I love that. Okay, then we move to immediacy and urgency. What would you confidently teach if someone handed you $200 for 1 hour of your time right this very second?
The urgency in that question is completely intentional. It strips away the pressure of feeling like you need to build some massive 6-month curriculum or write a comprehensive book. It forces you to identify the most accessible, ready-to-deploy value you already carry around in your head every single day.
The fourth question looks at implicit market signals. What is the number one topic people casually ask you for advice on? Even completely unprompted.
We often ignore this one because it just feels too conversational.
Yeah.
But this is your network implicitly telling you what they already view as your area of authority. They are recognizing an expertise in you that you might be dismissing as just, being a good friend or a helpful colleague.
Right. It feels too easy to be valuable.
Right.
Finally, we look at deep ingrained passion. What could you talk about for 2 straight hours with zero preparation and literally no notes?
That locates the area where your knowledge compounding is at its absolute peak. It is a territory where you have a natural, almost effortless depth of understanding.
Once you map out the answers to these 5 questions, there's a crucial next step from the source. You are not looking for one single definitive answer here. You're actually looking for the overlapping theme in at least 3 of those answers. That theme is your starting point. It's your launch pad.
Yeah, because the goal isn't to find the perfect final destination for your business today. It's just a direction to point yourself in so you are no longer staring at a blank page.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the moment that launch pad is identified, human nature just kicks into overdrive, right? The brain invents these highly logical sounding excuses to stop you from doing anything.
Oh, absolutely. The text anticipates this resistance perfectly. It identifies the 3 major practical roadblocks that always pop up, and it systematically dismantles them. So the first obstacle is the most common. I'm broke. I do not have the capital to start a business.
Right.
But the text highlights that a service-based hustle requires zero capital. We were talking about freelancing, consulting, coaching. You're not buying physical inventory. You don't need a storefront.
Yeah, the text literally lists out the free tools you can use. You use the free version of Canva for graphics, Google Docs for organization, LinkedIn for outreach, and WhatsApp for communication. That's it. You sell your skill, you get paid, and only then do you reinvest.
Yes, the rule of thumb provided is to take your very first $200 in actual profit and reinvest it into one single tool that saves you the most time.
Right, you never spend money until you've already made money, which naturally leads to the second major obstacle. Like, if you are listening to this right now thinking, I literally work 50 hours a week, I have family obligations, I have absolutely no time, the author is actually targeting you specifically.
Oh, yeah.
The text sets a baseline for a minimum viable hustle. Just 10 hours a week. That breaks down to 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. And it challenges you to audit your actual time for 3 days, tracking every 30-minute block. The average person spends 3 or more hours daily on passive scrolling or social media. It's all about finding what the source calls dead time. Your commute, waiting in queues, sitting in your car during lunch. Think of it like finding loose change in the couch cushions. A coin here, a coin there. It doesn't feel like wealth. But if you spend 20 minutes responding to an email on the train and 30 minutes outlining a proposal on your lunch break, those small pockets of time totally compound.
They do.
They easily add up to 5 or more hours a week of productive effort without sacrificing your sanity. It drastically undercuts the narrative of having zero time.
And then the final obstacle is usually the most deeply rooted. Number 3, I'm scared.
The fear of failure, the fear of judgment from peers.
Exactly. But the text points out that fear is actually a highly positive signal. It shows you're taking the endeavor seriously. The goal isn't to magically eliminate fear. That's impossible. The goal is to make the cost of staying stuck feel worse than the risk of moving forward.
Because waiting to feel ready is really just sophisticated self-sabotage. Ready is a moving target.
Yes. The text urges you to make a deliberate decision to start imperfectly. You launch the rough draft and you fix it as you go. Because real people paying real money will tell you what needs to improve far faster than you guessing in isolation.
So we have the idea, and we've cleared the excuses. But an advantage only becomes income when someone can buy it. How do you package this without sounding like a sleazy salesperson?
What's fascinating here is how simple the text makes this. It introduces the one-sentence offer formula, and it goes like this. I help specific person achieve specific result in specific time frame without specific frustration.
Let me read the contrast from the text here because it's wild. If your offer is, I help people with social media, that vague positioning might earn you $300 a month. But if you use the formula, it becomes, I help Nigerian fintech startups grow their LinkedIn audience to attract Series A investors.
Right.
The text states that this specific positioning earns $3,000 a month for the exact same underlying effort. Specificity is the engine of premium pricing.
Because when the founder of a Nigerian fintech startup reads that, their immediate thought is, that is literally me. They are talking directly to my specific problem.
But wait, to charge $3,000 a month, don't you have to be the world's absolute best at social media?
The text actually busts this. It calls it the mastery myth. Reality check, you only need to be better than your specific client at that specific task to save them time. They are paying for a convenient, reliable solution, not undisputed world-class mastery.
Okay, so we have our hyper-specific offer. What's the final step to avoid wasting 6 months building a totally useless product?
The 48-hour validation. You take your specific one-sentence offer and you ask 5 people who match your target customer, and strictly not polite friends, you ask them one uncomfortably direct question. If I could deliver this exact result, would you pay this specific price for it right now?
And if 2 out of those 5 say yes, launch it. If they hesitate, the problem, the audience, or the price is wrong. Adjust and test again.
Exactly. Do not spend half a year building something no one wants to buy.
So what does this all mean? It means you are not starting from zero. You are starting from experience. And the market will absolutely pay for that experience if it's packaged right.
And to anchor all of this, the text drops this perfect quote. A mediocre plan executed consistently will always outperform a brilliant plan that stays hidden in your notebook.
That's the whole game right there.
Right.
And the source explicitly says your first client isn't your defining moment and your first product isn't your legacy. So if your first launch is literally designed to be an imperfect rough draft in a very long game, what exactly are you risking by writing out your one-sentence offer today?